Well, welcome to the Middlesex Moments radio show. I'm Dr. Anna Wasesha, president of Middlesex Community College, and joining me today is Diane Bordonaro, who's a coordinator of our allied health programs. And what programs are allied health programs?
Our certified nurse aide program, our pharmacy technician program, we have a veterinary assistant program, medical billing and coding, personal trainer. There are actually eight non-credit programs where students can earn certificates in allied health fields.
And I would be remiss if I didn't say, how would you find out about that if you were listening and wanted to become a vet tech person?
The best place to look for our programs is on our website. And if you're looking for non-credit programs in specific, we have a landing page that you could go to www.mxcc.edu and then put in /CE info, and that will take you right to our non-credit allied health programs.
Oh, good, good. Well, the reason I asked Diane to come and talk with me today is because she's just returned from San Francisco, where she attended a meeting of people from community colleges across the nation who are going to be embarking on recruiting students who are over 50, making a special effort to recruit students who are over 50 to come to college. And I wanted to hear all about it. So, just first of all, how was the conference?
The conference was wonderful. It was attended by 83 community colleges across the country. Middlesex has been selected as one of these 83 to offer programming to students who are age 50 and older. So we got together and discussed plans and used each other as resources for implementing these programs.
And what kinds of programs do you think what did you hear from other attendees? What sorts of programs will they offer?
Specifically programs in allied health and social services. What students who are age plus 50 and over are looking for are short-term, quick certificates in workforce development so that they can enhance their careers or perhaps change careers if they've been laid off. So anything that's quick, it's easy, it's accessible to students, makes them appealing.
It sounds like you actually have a bunch of programs that fit that to a T.
Absolutely. We find a lot of our students already are coming in, who are age 50 and older and are looking for a second career, or they may have retired and are looking just for some additional education so they can help a family member who's at home.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have those programs in place already.
But how many students do we have here at Middlesex who are over 50, do you think?
I would say we're probably running about 120 right now.
Mm.
We're looking to, grow those numbers because we feel that there are a lot of people who are looking for more education. The baby boom generation has just turned age 50, and so those numbers are swelling, and we have the perfect opportunity for them to come back and work with the college.
In fact, I wonder if those numbers are actually greater than the numbers of 18-year-olds. I mean, people just turning 50. That'd be an interesting thing to find out,
Yeah.
right? Because we had a boom, and then there was a boomlet, and the size of families has been going down.
And they say that 50-year-olds have actually gone up by 30% in the last 10 years. 50-year-old students and older attending community college has increased by 30%.
Yeah.
So,
well, when we come back, I want to hear from you about what kinds of things colleges can do to make themselves work for students who are 50, because they're got to be a little bit different than the 18-year-olds.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay, we'll be back in a minute. Well, welcome back. This is Anna Wasesha at Middlesex Community College, and I'm with Diane Bordonaro, and she is a coordinator of our health programs, our non-credit certificate programs in health-related fields. Mm-hmm. And I always stumble over that because you do so many different things, and it's hard to actually put it under a heading. Anyway, you've just come back from San Francisco, where you attended this Plus 50 meeting that brought together the projects that are going to be coordinated by these 80-plus community colleges across the country. Mm-hmm. And the thing that rises to my mind is, what kind of a college is the perfect kind of college for somebody over 50 versus what we think of as the kind of college experience we provide for students, say, under 30. So there's a big gulf there.
Right. Well, community college actually appeals to people over 50 for several reasons. For one thing, we're very affordable, and people over 50 have learned to be conscious of spending their dollars, so the affordability is actually ideal for them. In addition, we're community-based, so we're close to home. We have easy access. Find us without any trouble. We have great parking, very convenient for, people getting here. In addition, our flexible class schedules, especially on the non-credit side of the college, appeal to age 50 and over. They may have additional responsibilities. They may be working still and looking for classes in the evening. They may have family obligations. And, on the non-credit side of the college, we can implement short-term flexible training programs that earn a workforce credential, give people a workforce credential, which is great. It's very affordable, easy access, flexible schedules. All of that appeal to age 50 and older.
What about the basic skills in English and math? We hear so much about how so many students coming from high schools really aren't ready to start.
Yes.
And I think math especially, we use English every day, so it's, you kind of keep it dusted off. But math skills can really fade. So what happens with students who come in to the non-credit health-related certificate programs in terms of being able to do the math?
Right. Well, that's something, that we're going to be looking at. For the non-credit side of the college, the math that we require isn't very demanding, so most students can catch up, just as in terms of working within the normal class. If we do have students who would like to go on to the credit side of our college and earn a degree, they would have to take a basic skills assessment, which can be intimidating for some of our plus 50 students. They may have been a great math student back when they were in high school, but they're not using it every day, and they've lost some of those skills. So what we're going to be looking at is implementing refresher courses, short-term, intense refresher courses geared specifically for our non-traditional students, and getting them back up to speed so that when they take the basic skills assessment test, they can do well on it.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
And there are so many online resources that are free too. So if people wanted to bone up at home online, if they've got a computer at home, Khan Academy is a fantastic site, KHAN Academy. And in that, there are these little films I've gotten on just to see what this is like. His name is Saul Khan, I think. He actually talks you through different math problems, and you can go over and over it. Obviously, because you can play it as many times as you wish, just to try to learn some of those basic things.
One of the things we run into is some of our, students who are age 15 and older are a little intimidated by the computer. And if they can, get on at home and start practicing these math problems, navigate the computer a little bit at home, then, that will ease some of their anxiety when they actually get, into the college. For those students who don't even want to practice at home, we do offer courses in computer fundamentals, which starts, right from the very beginning, how to turn the computer on, how to use the keyboard, how to use the mouse, how to navigate the internet, all of that, because it's very common for people who aren't using a computer every day or who didn't grow up with the computer to be a little intimidated by it. So
I'm just trying to do the math, speaking of math. So if this is 2013 and you're 50 years old, you were born in 1960? 63.
Yeah. And our baby boomer generation started in 1946, ended in 1964. So that's 78 million Americans were born between 1946 and 1964. The end of that baby boom generation will be turning 50 next year. So you can imagine this swell in the population, that we have right now, age 50 and older. The good part about that is we have great health care, and they're living very active, healthy lives. So, in the past, we thought of our 50-year-old or our non-traditional students as coming back to take personal enrichment courses. That is no longer the case. They're looking at, 20 to 30 years of productive, active, service to their community, and they're looking to come back and actually take career courses, improve their job skills, enhance their job skills.
And also, I suppose you bring a whole set of life experiences with you at that point that also help you make maybe better choices, more informed choices about what you really do want to do with the time you spend in the workplace.
Right, and we actually, on the non-credit side of the college, we have the opportunity to give our students credit for that experiences. We may, for example, have someone who's working in a medical office and doing scheduling, has a lot of knowledge about health insurance, and they may want to become a medical coder. Well, there's no reason for them to take a class in health insurance, which is typically one of our prerequisites, because that student is using it every day in their workplace. So with documentation from their employer that they have this knowledge, we can evaluate it and then get them into our medical billing and coding program so they can earn a certificate and become a certified professional coder.
Do you charge for that? That evaluation?
No, we do not. That's just all done through email and contact with the instructor, and the instructor actually evaluates that at no charge for the student.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a great service, and it really helps people earn that workforce credential without having them spend extra time and finances getting classes they don't need.
Mm-hmm. I have the impression, because it's obviously not my field, that medical records are all going to be computerized, and that, isn't this part of President Obama's campaign to lower the cost of healthcare by reducing redundancy, which would mean that physicians and nurses and whoever would be able to access your record at any time, right?
Exactly.
So there's a huge amount of work to transition from all those paper files to...
There is. What you're referring to is considered meaningful use, and the government has stated that healthcare providers need to work toward meaningful use, which means not just having a computer in their office and their records on the computer, but actually using it so that the health information can be exchanged from provider to provider or from provider to pharmacy, so that everyone can access it. The patients will even be able to access it through their own computers at their home, which is great. If you want to pull up your immunization records, that type of thing, you'll be able to do that. The college has been very responsive in assisting our community with getting educated people out there to work in these fields. We have our non-credit medical billing and coding program, and we're also implementing health information technology degree program. This will be a 2-year degree that trains students to actually work in health information technology. And students who take that degree and wish to go on and earn a bachelor's degree in the same field will have the opportunity to do that. So there's a great career ladder for someone who wants to get into this new, exciting field where there's going to be demand for a lot of jobs.
Who would be the employers of medical coding and billing and of the health information?
The primary employers are going to be your healthcare providers, like your physicians' offices. Some offices actually outsource that to billing companies, so there are billing companies out there who will hire, professional coders. Sometimes professional coders can actually work from home because it's all done via computer. Hospitals are also going to be hiring people who specialize in electronic healthcare, because everything needs to interface. The pharmacies need to be on board. It's just about everywhere. Your insurance companies will need to, be able to interact with this exchange.
So you're a nurse, right?
I am a nurse.
So
yes.
you know this pretty intimately. What would you estimate is the percentage of medical records in Connecticut that are now electronic versus the ones that need to be electronicized, or whatever the verb would be for that?
Yes. It's in 3 stages. Meaningful use is broken into 3 stages. I believe they're just finishing up the first stage and heading toward the second stage. So pretty much every medical provider in Connecticut should be, on the same level of actually having software installed in their computers and having trained their office people to work on it.
Does everybody use the same software?
Unfortunately, no, and that's one of the issues. The government hasn't dictated which software needs to be implemented, only that they have to pick a program that interfaces with the other software programs. So they all have to be able to talk to each other, but they're not all the same program, which makes it very difficult.
Yeah, it could be the Tower of Babel in a way.
Yeah.
Although you're saying they have to be able to relate to each other, but
right, they have to be able to relate to each other, but there is not one program out there for us all to buy stock in that everybody's going to be purchasing.
Right. That would be, we're always looking for that good tip, right?
Right.
Okay, this is great. When we come back, we're going to go back to the plus 50 students. Let's talk about what in the trade we now call psychosocial support, right? Which is the whole rest of the student's life outside of the classroom.
Right.
And actually in the classroom, too. It's just paying attention to them as whole human beings, not just receivers of knowledge.
Meeting their needs.
Yeah, exactly. And that I'm sure you've got lots of insight now.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it in just a moment. Well, welcome back to Middlesex Moments. And this is Anna Wasesha from Middlesex Community College and Diane Bordonaro from our health sciences programs. Non-credit health sciences programs, of which there are 8. And right before we took the break, I was saying, let's go back and talk about the whole human dimension of being 50 and coming back to college. So what did you learn, and what are your thoughts about that?
Well, it can be a little intimidating, and I guess what we want to make sure is that our students age 50 and older feel comfortable at the college and in the classroom. And there's several things we can do to enhance that comfort level. The first thing is just helping them navigate the college processes. We can simplify this, give them a point person to contact if they're having any difficulty. It'll make it go much smoother. We don't want them stumbling over, financial aid issues or applying college. A lot of times they say, I can't apply to college because I don't have my high school transcripts anymore. And all of these things we can work around. We can, find ways to assist them getting through the process and make it as simple as possible. Some of the other things is occasionally we'll have someone who who pictures them sitting in a room full of, traditional students who are ages 18 to 20, 22, and we want to reassure them that that is not going to be the case. There are plenty of students coming back who are non-traditional. We call them adults in transition. They're looking for a change in their lives, and our classrooms are actually designed to make them comfortable. No longer are we trying to squish ourselves into the chairs where the desks are attached. Now we have chairs on wheels, and you can settle in and be comfortable sitting at a table. We are looking to make social connections for these older students. Ideally we would be able to find a space on campus where we can have a plus 50 lounge where they can go in and study or do group work with people their same age. In addition to that, they have a lot to offer our traditional age students. They're coming with a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, so they're going to interact well with those traditional students. The traditional students can offer to the plus 50, their experience with computer skills, how to use their iPhones, how to access some of the online information. So it's a great blend when we take the plus 50 and the traditional age students and put them together. They both benefit from this.
And when I've talked to faculty members here, they've often said that the older students are the ones who the most challenging in a way, in a really good way, because they have so much life experience to put things into context.
Right. And they're so serious about their education.
Right.
They want to get the most out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And employers find the same things. They're looking for the plus 50 employee to come, into their workplace because of their experience. They have a great work ethic. They show up for work every single day. They give 100%. They have well-polished customer service skills, which we don't always find in our younger students. So it's a very good opportunity for people who are looking to change careers to come, explore a new career, get into the classroom, gain some, workforce credentials, and then go out there and look for jobs.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think part of that is all about the maturity. That just you simply have to live. You have to live long enough to gain some of that.
Yeah.
Did you hear about any programs that other colleges were offering or did offer? Because you sat with people who've been doing this for a while.
Yes.
That stood out in your mind as really, kind of great things that we might want to emulate here at Middlesex?
Well, some of what they were talking about is partnering with organizations outside of the college. For example, one school had actually partnered with Walmart. And Walmart, provided some funding to assist the college in program development and, services for the students. Another college partnered with Walgreens, a pharmacy, and students who were coming through their pharmacy technician class were guaranteed an interview at Walgreens. Just getting that interview, they said anybody who's plus 15 over is the type of employee that we're looking for. So, that type of community partnership was ideal because both the college and the community organization were providing services to the student.
What about other kinds of community organizations that you might partner with? Because I think earlier you were talking about some of the communities where they're age restricted, would you say?
Yes.
So they're over 50 communities.
Our
right?
plus 50 active communities. Those residential communities are actually designed for age 55 and up who are active, who still want to lead very productive lives. And that's a great place for, us to go out and talk to them and find out what their needs are. What are you looking for? We may have someone who led a full career and is now retired, yet they're looking to, give back to the community. They may want to do some volunteer work, and in order to do that, they need to take classes in human services, to understand how to interact with people. Occasionally, we'll have someone who has been taking care of an elderly parent, and when that parent passes on, they realize they missed the work, so they'll say, I want to become a certified nurse aide so I can take care of other people in my community. Do home care type work, and they'll come through our program so that they can get that certification and actually go into the workplace. Not because they're looking for a job that pays the bills, but more because they're looking to be active and to do some rewarding work that they help people.
Mm-hmm. I think isolation is just, it's the most toxic experience in a way. So yeah, all of us have to think about ways to be connected with other people. Did they sort of do any philosophic meditation on what we mean by retirement anymore anyway? Because really we used to think about senior discounts, right? Which in some places kick in at 55, some at 62. Then a typical retirement was 65. Now it's kind of going up a little higher, 66, 67.
And we're living longer.
And we're living longer.
And we're living healthier,
Right.
So everything has changed, yeah.
So are we going to be working sort of, even maybe part-time, but working basically for decades after the old traditional age of retirement, do you think?
It seems like it's going that way. The economy's, been struggling. People are finding that their money doesn't go as far. So even if they are retired and collecting a retirement, it doesn't hurt to enhance that income by picking up a little part-time work. And yeah, they're talking, up to age 80, that people are going to be looking for employment.
Wow.
Which I hope isn't me, but you never know.
Well, it flies in the face of the stereotype. But
Yeah.
old isn't old anymore.
Old is not
old.
old.
Is the new young.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Right,
So.
right. So you have to, I suppose, another piece of it is coming back to college can be really, to some degree, the tonic, because you want to get out and be in an atmosphere where there are people of almost all generations.
And actually, like in my veterinary assistant program, in one class, we can have a student 17 and someone who's 67,
Really?
sitting together. We've seen that span, and, in actually one class, 17 to age 67 and everything in between, which is amazing, that
Right.
it appeals to that broad an audience.
How long, tell me about that program. How long does it take to complete that program?
It's a 20-week program. Students do 4 hours of weekly lecture, and then they do a 4-hour clinical training in the veterinary hospital each week. In our clinical classes, we maintain a low student-to-instructor ratio. We have 6 students for every instructor, so students have a lot of hands-on time with the animals. They come out with great job skills. It's not just sitting and taking notes. It's actually doing both, the clinical training and then being in the classroom to get the knowledge to apply that clinical training that they've received.
So 20 weeks that's not very long at all.
It's not very long at all. It's short-term, intensive. Our students have been getting hired right out of the program. Many of them have jobs before they even finish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But now, if you're enrolled in a non-credit, that's a non-credit
That's
program.
a non-credit program.
Then you're not eligible for financial aid.
You're not eligible for financial aid.
So,
Right.
and all of that information about what that would cost would be on the website.
It's on the website. For many of our programs, we have payment plans, so the students can break it down into several payments. They don't have to pay for it all at once.
Mm-hmm.
For students who are between jobs or who may be underemployed, they may be able to receive funding through Connecticut Works. All of our programs qualify for funding through Connecticut Works, and it's just a matter of meeting with a Connecticut Works employment representative to determine if the individual would qualify.
So what's your shortest program and your longest program?
Our shortest one, our CNA program, you can get through in 6 weeks, and actually this summer we're running an accelerated class over 5 weeks.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. Our longest program is perhaps our medical billing and coding program, which runs over a traditional academic year. It starts in September and will finish up in May. So.
And with coding, you're actually learning how to understand how you code whatever presenting problem the person presents when they come
Right.
to the doctor's office. So the doctor's not saying this is a 96472AB.
Right.
Somebody actually has to go in and do that, code it, and then submit it to the insurance company.
Right. You look at the health documentation from the physician and determine, which code applies. And you have to be very knowledgeable regarding anatomy, regarding procedures to make sure that you code accurately so the patient's insurance company is billed accurately.
That sounds like the kind of thing you'd need to kind of do what would be like continuing education units in a way, because what you might have learned 20 years ago has probably changed dramatically. So
Right.
there's a constant needing to be, make yourself current.
Absolutely. And we're switching, from ICD-9 to ICD-10, which is, going to exponentially increase the number of codes that our coders need to know. So.
Who creates these codes?
Good question. Through diagnostic related groups, I believe it's
Yeah.
probably come through Medicare, Medicaid system, but
Yeah,
I don't know
probably-
for sure.
Probably the government, the
Yeah.
source of all complex
Yes.
things.
Anything that has to do with money, it's coming from the
Yeah,
government.
yeah. So we just have 1 minute left in this radio program. Do you have a message for our listeners who might be over 50 or might know people over 50 who would be interested in coming back to college?
The message I want to send is, come find us. We're looking to make this transition as easy as possible for you. We want to meet your needs, and if we're not meeting them, we want to know about it. So definitely look us up. We're at Middlesex Community College here on 100 Training Hill Road in Middletown.
Right, and we're at mxcc.edu. Yeah, so you can find us lots of different ways. And if you don't have a computer at home, your local library.
Absolutely.
we'll have one and they can help you. Lots and lots of resources out there. What I used to say to my daughter is, you got to get out of the house. Because you get out of the house, you're going to find out there's this whole fantastic world out there. And that's what I would say to people over 50 who are thinking, well, I might like to go back to college. Get out of the house and come over and take a look at us. So I want to just finish off by thanking Diane for coming to talk with me today, recommending strongly that if you're interested in learning more about being a student here and at the same time being 50 or over, you might want to talk with Diane Bordonaro, B-O-R-D.
Onaro.
There we go. Our resident specialist on the non-credit health program side of the house. And I am Anna Wasesha. I'm always happy to be here with you once a week on WMRD WLIS radio station. I'm the president of Middlesex Community College, and I'm wishing you all a very good day.